Now batting for the Reds, number 44, the shortstop, Ellie Thrill.
Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. It is Sunday at 8 p.m. and we are live. That's Ricky. I'm Roger. What a week difference it makes from December 7th to December 14th. Not just in terms of Reds talk, but temperature-wise. It is freezing cold here in the tri-state area. Like lots of snow on the ground, not melting at all, and a lot of people freezing their butts off watching the Bengals not score a single point. So not necessarily the best week in Reds history either. Ricky, this has been kind of rough, but how's it been for you?
Cold. I think I texted you earlier. My door locks froze at home. I couldn't leave my house. And I think they finally unthawed about 11 or 12, but other than that, it's been okay. We had the bad news on Tuesday, but what do we do? That's just the life of being a Reds fan.
Yeah, the bad news you're referring to is that we lost out on the Kyle Schwarber sweepstakes, and we're going to get into that definitely a lot more. But in typical Reds fashion, it wasn't just that we lost out on the Kyle Schwarber, free agent signing. We seem to like to compound it with crawl comments, compound it with confounding logic and what this organization more or less thinks like how to operate and how to run the business side of baseball, which we know if you follow baseball at all, it's not the most thriving sport. There's a lot of small market teams like our team in Cincinnati. There's a lot of factors and everything that goes into why things happen, why businesses like the Reds make their decisions. Neither here nor there. You don't have to add insult to injury in some situations, and we'll get into that for sure. But I don't know exactly where to start, Ricky, on this, because it was a whole week of, I don't know, like the Reds being Reds type of thing, the front office being the front office that we've come to know. I don't know. Where do you want to start on this?
I got a lot. For one, if you're going to find a way to spend up to $150 million on one player, maybe try to find a way to spend $150 million on a way to make your team better. Like, you have one glaring need in somebody that can drive the ball out of the ballpark. And you don't seem to want to find a way to make that a priority. What he seems, and by him I mean Nick Krall, seems to want to prioritize on is contact hitting, line drive approach, and guys that put together good at bats. Well, I don't think anybody on this team currently does that. Outside of possibly TJ Friedl every once in a while. Spencer Steer had some incredible at-bats towards the end of the season. I think famously that one at bat against the Cubs, I believe, where it was like 12 pitches and he ended up hitting a home run. But take away a couple of those, chance at-bats, I guess. Nobody in this team does that. And I have a quote pulled up. I posted it on our Instagram page, and I think we ended up putting it on Twitter as well. But it says, I think everybody would like 50 home runs, right? If you hit line drives in our ballpark, they are going to go out. When you look at left-handed hitters especially, if you can hit line drives, you're going to hit 25 homers. And I think if you are a right-hander and can use the whole field, it is going to go out anywhere. I prefer good contact hitters that get on base and hit line drives. The more quality at-bats you have, the more home runs you're going to have in our ballpark. Well, Nick, nobody's had 25 home runs this season. One player had it in 2024. That was Ellie. He had 20, I think 25 exactly. 2023, nobody had it. I think Steer was close. I think he had 23.
Yeah.
2022 was the last year, I believe, somebody hit 25 home runs.
But yeah, he's in 2021 for sure, because 2021 was like
2021 was the year where we had multiple guys in the 30s, I believe, right? But that's a terrible narrative because it's not even true. Like TJ Friedel's a line drive hitter, and I think he had 20 a couple years ago, right? 2023, I think he almost had a 2020 season.
Yeah.
But nobody's even really hitting 20. And it's a terrible narrative. And I don't want to make this whole show a negative show, which it's not going to be. There's going to be some positives in here eventually. But it's a terrible narrative, and then to the point of making Schwarber your only offseason priority when it comes to spending money. You had Pete Alonso, who signed for the almost identical contract. I think it was 5 years, $155 million. And Suarez is still out there. I think he's projected to get around 368 or somewhere around there, which that's doable. Cody Bellinger's around the same annual average value of $30 million a year. I think he wants 6 years. Cody Bellinger fits the mold of a contact line drive hitter. He just hits a lot of home runs too. I don't know. I don't like the direction of what things are going. And I guess as I'm getting older, I'm becoming that stay off my lawn type guy. But it's a home run hitting ballpark, and if you can just find guys that get launch in their swing, they're going to hit 25 home runs. I don't care about line drives. If you hit somebody that a fly out turns into a home run at this ballpark. So, I mean, I would rather have somebody that fly out. Like Jeimer Candelario fits your mold of a line drive hitter, and he didn't hit 25 home runs.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Suarez before the show. I mentioned it also just now. I'm also kind of in the same camp of what Fred's talking about here, is that Suarez is going to come and hit 40 but hit 200, and that is going to rankle the file of all the coaching staff in this Reds organization, because they don't want that.
Valaika will have a stroke.
Yeah, and I'd argue that actually the guy that probably fits the mold the best in terms of contact hitter wanting to hit the level swing, some of that is the newest Red that we have is Sal Stu. And he seems to already be drinking the Kool-Aid in terms of talking about how home runs are mishits in that infamous quote that he had during the season. So like, it is kind of crazy to think that we are building a team to not hit home runs in a home run park. We've talked about this many, many times. And yes, I get it. We want to build good baseball players. Terry Francona, old school guy, move the runner over, take, the pitches that you need to. Like, he's not going to get the guys that are going to be all or nothing swingers like a Schwarber, right? Like, that's the thing that kind of was off about this whole chase of like, and it leads to the conspiracy tinfoil thing of like, oh, we tried, but like, was it just a false offer all along just to show the fans? And Fred has already kind of drawn up. He already put up a mock of the banner that we had a solid offer to Schwarber. But was it really? Was it in all reality like we couldn't find $25 million to defer, or maybe Schwarber was really against that? But I don't know, man. Like, and defer with interest. I feel like that's the Griffey deal already in 2000, right? Like that's the same type of scenario. But anyway, the thought I was thinking through the whole Schwarber thing was basically we were going out and trying to get the hottest name on the market, the guy that was second in MVP voting. And I think this front office wanted to show that we could, but obviously, ultimately, reality sets in, reality of the fact of we don't have the money and we don't have the ownership that's willing to leverage whatever money they have that they put into this club all the time to get a guy that will basically make your team better on paper, but maybe necessarily not make the club better down the road, right? Like ownerships always are talking about how they want the big picture and they have to make sure that they are sustainable. I mean, that's what I hear all the time in Chicago media that the Cubs are trying to work on sustainability when they're one of the biggest markets and make more money than like double the revenue that the Cubs make, and like they're right up there with the Dodgers in revenue, but their salary is like half of the Dodgers. But anyway, neither here nor there. Not a Cubs podcast. The point I'm trying to make is that there's no way, as I sent to you, I think on X, some statistics of the Reds payroll through the years, and then they're also the revenue through the years, and it doesn't seem to line up. I guess that's where the real ire that I have and a lot of fans have were the comments that Krall is talking about. We're trying to balance the budget. The ownership group is putting in all this money to make this team work, and they are not making much profit off of it. And it's like, no way. Like this can't be possible. $325, I think, million dollars revenue.
325 2024.
In 2024, on a year that they stunk, a year they won 77 games.
315 the year before that.
And what I don't get is it's not like our payroll for the players is up and down crazy amounts to, like one year it's 120 million, the next year is 220, and then we balance it to 150. It's not like it has been a consistent like 110 to 100.
I think we talked about that the last show on Sunday. It's been ever since Votto's contract extension in 2013 when it kicked in. It's been hovering around between 120 and 145, like in that range ever since. And I think it bumped up again in 2019 when they signed Moustakas, Castellanos, and Akiyama, and I think there was some higher arbitration numbers for like Luis Castillo and stuff. But I mean, still, it's been hovering around the same ever since.
So I said to you on X, because I was looking at the numbers, I'm like, so that would mean to run a ball club with like the staff, whatever maintenance, whatever, like, paying the front office people, paying all that, means that is about $180 million to run a baseball club. Like, I don't know. I'm not an insider, an expert in terms of like how much money it takes to run a baseball team aside from the player payroll, because that's the only thing that's really public. Even like, Francona's numbers are not public, right? David Bell's numbers were not public. There's a lot of money that they can lie on us and tell us that they're breaking even every single year, like Nick Krall said. But are they? Like, it feels like a lot of people made this argument on X. It feels like if you run a business for 20 years, breaking even every single year, that you would potentially want to sell that business because the valuation is way above what it was when they first bought it in 2006, and you would make the profit there. Obviously, there's the tax implications of selling the club and stuff like that. Maybe the reason why they're trying to break even is because they're spending a bunch of money so they can break even, kind of like in college football and college sports, where they spend the amount of money they bring in, so that way they remain a non-profit. So are we to assume the Cincinnati Reds are run like a non-profit company, that every single dollar that comes in goes back out, and Bob does not get any of it? Phil Castellini, his CEO, does not get any of that money, and it goes straight back out to us fans? Where is it going?
It's Chris Faleka. He's making probably like 100 of that. Just I did kind of look around. According to Forbes, it says Francona's deals $15 million a year, which I don't know how accurate that is, but that's still not $180 million. I mean, the staff members on that team aren't making the same as Francona over their tenure either. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that we're missing. It just kind of makes sense, but if your claim is to break even, then what are you spending the $180 million on is what our question is. And like, it's just the narrative, if he would just shut up and stop talking, I think we would probably would be better off. Just don't tell us things that we don't need to know. Just say, hey, we offered him a contract, he turned it down. That's all that matters. Let the reporters like Ken Rosenthal and all those, The guy from ESPN, Jet Passon. Let them guys be the guys that fight over that stuff. Because then when we hear it directly from your mouth, that just makes us even more angry as fans.
Yeah, that definitely we agree. We've been saying this like a long time. Clay Snowden said it. It would just be better if he does the boring, coach speak, boring GM speak of we tried our best, we didn't match their offer or whatever. Like it didn't work out to where we wanted it. So that kind of brings me back to what I had told you, I think, earlier in the week. I think, despite all that's happened this week, this is actually good for the Reds. We are talking about a guy that's 32 years old in Kyle Schwarber, not necessarily at the peak of his powers, even though he had probably his best season. I mean, if he ever watches this show, he can rub this take back in my face that Kyle Schwarber is not going to have the same season that he had this year in 2026, meaning that it is probably on the downward slope of his career going forward. You invest $150 million in a guy that can only really play DH and can be maybe the same level of outfielder as Gavin Lux. And we talked about Gavin Lux pre-show, talking about how we're not necessarily high on the Gavin Lux stock at the moment and possibly would rather see someone else be playing out there in left field than Gavin Lux. I think this is for the best for the Reds. It is, I guess, in a way, saving $150 million, saving a roster spot from a guy that, it doesn't hit for average, right? And obviously that is, as much as we make fun of that, player profile that the Reds talk about, it's not going to fit into what they want. So is there going to be tension with like just the way that going about his approach to the plate? Or is this like an ego thing where like Kyle Schwarber would be like, you know what, Chris Felica, I got paid $150 million to hit the way that I hit. Like, lay off me. Like, that could cause problems in a locker room where the Reds notoriously in the last 4 or 5 seasons are a vibes clubhouse in terms of like they want guys that are positive, young, hungry, not necessarily guys that are dead weights that are going to bring the mood down, right? So because that they've moved on from Schwarber, this is what the next step has to be. You can't immediately say, now we're not going to be in the market of any other free agents that are big-time guys. You can't do that. That's where it ends up completely undermining the whole Kyle Schwarber experience of at least the point of like saying, hey, we're going to be big fish hunting. We're going to be big whale hunting, right? But then after you miss out on the biggest whale, you can't go like, well, you know what? We're going to go in that pond and get some of these smaller
fishing for minnows.
So that's where my take falls apart. It's actually, I feel like in the long run better that Schwarber isn't a Red in 2026 and beyond, based on the fact that Father Time catches up to us all. Kyle Schwarber, can basically probably have a pretty decent season next year. And I don't know if that necessarily makes the Reds a better ball club in the short term and the long term for the way that they're setting up this team, because they've got a young core with Ellie, McLean, and Abbott and Hunter Green. It feels like they really need to find a free agent that isn't a minnow, like you say, Ricky, but like not necessarily somebody that is going to break the bank. That is the challenge that I lay out to Nick Krall.
Need to find a striper.
Exactly. That they need something that definitely will. I don't know if satiate the bait. The fan base is exactly what I'm looking for, because you're not there to make the fan base happy. You're there to make the ball club better. And if it is a pick of a player that makes the ball club better, that is what you need. Fan happy. Yeah, and Nick Krall needs to shut up about all the stupid budget talk and just get it done in terms of making the ball club better. If Bob is the one handcuffing him, then he needs to just make up some sort of weird white lie, like you said, that we tried, it didn't work out, right? Like, it needs to be something that we just don't need to understand, that all of a sudden, oh, it really doesn't matter if you hit 50 home runs, because if you hit 25 line drives in Great American Ballpark, you can hit – none of that. Just stop with that. But unfortunately, there was a new thing that you just told me before the show about Crawl. What was it again about?
Oh, he was on MLB Network on the radio people, and he had mentioned Ellie and his defensive struggles and offensive struggles to end the season, and he went from a partially torn quad to a strained quad, which I'm sure, like, technically, I think a strain is technically a partially torn quad.
Okay.
But when you say the term partially torn quad as opposed to a strain, it sounds worse, in my opinion. But because I know, like, with like an ankle sprains, like there's like the levels, right?
Right.
Yeah, I forget which order it is, but the worst ankle sprain is technically torn ligaments. But if you say you have torn ligaments in your ankle, it sounds worse than saying you have a high ankle sprain or whatever. But I'm not a doctor, but don't take any medical advice from the Red Hot Reds crew. We're not we're not liable for any medical conditions. Uh, but
Yeah. Put that on the scroll.
it sounds bad when you say that, and then we're going to talk later about more Ellie stuff. But I wanted to talk about this real quick. Kind of similar. It's not in our notes. It just popped in my head.
Sure.
I am going to defend Terry Francona right now.
Okay.
When he signed here, he very explicitly said, "Do not talk to me about payroll. Don't talk to me about players. I'm going to coach the players that I have to the best that I can." And he said very clearly that he's not going to have input on what the front office does. The front office is going to do what they do, and he's going to have the players to coach how he coaches. So this is not me defending his Chris Valaika decision, to make it clear, because I do think he had obviously the say in bringing in Chris Valaika from Cleveland with him.
Right.
But I don't think we saw that same approach in Cleveland. Like, they had a very clear power hitter in Ramirez, and I don't know. I feel like with Francona here, he's not going to say anything negative about the front office, because why would he? You know, they brought him in here. But obviously, I think anybody would love Schwarber, but I don't think he's going to go out of his way to make any comments about, give me a power guy because we need it. He's just going to say, if you're going to give me guys that hit line drive, I'm going to coach guys that hit line drives. But if you can give me a guy that hits for power, I'm going to find a way to coach around that too. Like, how many times this past season did we see bases loaded, nobody out, and nobody scored? Too many times. And to me, like, line drive hitters aren't good in that situation. You want guys to fly out to get a sac fly. Like, come on. It just, I'm disappointed. And I'm not just saying this because it's not Schwarber. Like, I'm not saying, because, like, I agree with your take with Schwarber being, he's going to be 33 going into next year. And with logically, he's getting older. And like my disappointment is the fact that there's not even anybody else on the table. It's just, this is what you got, and you guys are going to like it, because now it feels like, Phil, where are you going to go?
Yeah, for sure. There was the one also thing that just came up that I thought about as well, that with the Schwarber talk, was the thought process that, again, Kroll doesn't need to tell us about, that for some reason came up. I don't know if anybody asked him specifically this, but that he would basically not necessarily pay for himself, but the ticket sales generated and the buzz of bringing home a guy that lives in a general proximity to Cincinnati would be the reason why they would be able to sign him. And again, like, okay, if that's really the way that we're doing this, then we are in a lot more trouble than we really are like that we perceive, or you and myself perceive, and the fans that support this team perceive, that we have to basically like have a guy that basically raises his own salary. The only way he's getting paid is if he puts butts in the seats, and that is a poor place to be as a franchise. And I don't know how that works, because again, to put us back into this, like, I guess what this week has been really is just kicking us back into reality. Like, we lived in this fantasy world for a bit of like Schwarber could live here, Schwarber could play here type of world. And all of a sudden, we are in a situation where we need a superstar that finished second in MVP voting, basically selling enough tickets so that we can basically cut his paycheck every week. And the other reality is that we barely outbid the stinking Pirates. What are we doing?
Jeez.
Like, this is what, like, to quote a famous Cincinnati Red fan, Elliot Rearing, we are not that much better than Pirates right now. We are just a couple steps ahead of them in terms of the way that our organization is run. On the field, we are way obviously more talented than the Pittsburgh Pirates, but the way that the organization runs could harm this team in the long run, obviously. And if we are just the bottom of the barrel, basically like Price is Right, bidding $1 on the Price is Right panel just so we can be in the game but say that we tried, gosh, that is infuriating to be as a Reds fan. And I get it. We are not – I think the graphic I also came across recently is like you always talk about in terms of the ownership, like how much he's valued, like his net worth. He is dead last if we just take Castellini by himself. And obviously there's a group and whatnot. But I also heard, like, on the X, and I don't know how valid this is, but I guess Castellini has like a somewhat policy of not asking the other owners for money, like how we talked about with the Expos, how like sometimes they have like a fundraising round. Yeah. And I guess he's like not necessarily like hard stop against it, but he does not like going to the other ownership groups if like, hey, I need 30 million here, I need 50 million here. And it sounds like that's why we are breaking even. It's because the team is run only on what Bob Castellini can afford.
And I got a even more wild take. Keep the team Bob, sell everybody else.
Yeah, it sounds like the other owners are super cheap, and they're just all allowing Bob to basically be the martyr and Phil to be the martyrs of and they are the face of the franchise, of the ownership group, I should say. So, like, why are we doing this? Like, the Lindners have a lot of money. I don't know if you know that. They are a small part of this ownership group, but they have a lot of money. They own Great American, they own UDF, they own FC Cincinnati. They should be putting in their fair share if that's the case. I know we definitely go after Bob as much as we can, and obviously the fans that support us and the fans that watch our show go after him as well. The other ones should pony up too, if that's the case. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Shameless plug, I guess. Not really, though. But CincinnatiRedsTalk.com. I put out an article on the 10th. I couldn't tell you what day that was. I don't even know what day today is, other than it being Sunday.
Tuesday? No, Wednesday.
It might have been Tuesday. It might have been the same day that Tuesday or Wednesday. I wrote about my thoughts on Schwarber and just how I feel about it. There was some articles by Ken Rosenthal he put out for The Athletic. He said, unlike the Orioles, the Reds are not expected to pursue other expensive free agents, which the Orioles ended up signing Pete Alonso. Their offer to Schwarber, a native of Middletown, Ohio, about 35 miles north of Cincinnati, was tied to their belief that his addition would help drive ticket sales. I think a lot of people look at every aspect where this is Nick Kroll said about the budget. He said, I think a lot of people look at every aspect where we can. Our ownership group puts everything back into the team every year. They try to figure out how to break even every year. That's how we budget. And like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you can offer that money to Schwarber, why can't you offer it to Pete Alonso? Or, in my opinion, an even better choice would be Cody Bellinger, who's 3 years younger than both of those guys. Well, I think Alonso is 30, 31,
Yeah, he's
and
around there.
Bellinger's 29.
Mhm.
And my defense to Bellinger is I pulled up his stats for his career in Great American Ballpark, which I know historically Jamer Candelario had pretty good numbers hitting in Great American Ballpark too, but Pete Alonso actually had pretty mediocre numbers hitting in Great American Ballpark, if you can believe that. But for Cody Bellinger, 339, 336, 626 slash line, 9 home runs, 24 RBIs in 27 games. And his slugging percentage of 626 is his best at any ballpark in his career with more than 10 games played. So out of any ballpark he's ever played at, 10 games or more, his slugging percentage is the highest at Great American Ballpark. And he's played 27 games there. The only one that was higher was Seattle, but he only played 9 games there in Seattle. I'm sorry for the excuses. I'm tired of the excuses. It's disheartening because now what we're realistically looking at is Christian Encarnacion Strand, Reese Hines, and Will Benson as choices that they weren't last year. It's like we put these guys off this past season because, we're going to try to get somebody. And then now, we didn't. So now we're going to rely on these people. And not only that, you're hoping that Matt McClain bounces back. You're hoping that TJ Friedel and Spencer Steer don't regress. Ellie, is he going to be healthy again? Is he going to play a whole season? Like, you got Hunter Green. Is he going to be healthy enough to pitch all season?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many factors to where, like, our window's now. Like, the window for this team is right now. This is the biggest window I think this team's had since I can remember. Other than maybe 2010, when you had Votto and Bruce and Homer Bailey and Johnny Cueto, and then you bring in Scott Rowland as like your leader. And I know Rowland didn't have the offensive impact that people would have liked, where we could have had from Edwin Encarnacion, but I think the leadership aspect of bringing in a legitimate veteran who's won, and like Schwarber. He hasn't won a World Series. Well, did he win in Chicago? Was he on that team in Chicago?
Yeah.
So
16.
he's won a World Series, and he knows how to get to the playoffs. Cody Bellinger won a World Series. Knows how to knows what it takes to get to the playoffs. Pete Alonso, he's played on some pretty good Mets teams, and and instead, like, you're relying on Gavin Lux and Spencer Steer and TJ Friedel and all these guys are getting older. TJ Friedel is going to be 30, I think, this year, 30, 31. And granted, still on a rookie contract, but like, that's your core. And I know it's going to sound like anticlimactic, where Friedel's going to be 30, you're going to bring in a 33-year-old, but like a 33-year-old that hits nearly 60 home runs is a big deal, especially in Great American Ballpark. And who's to say that Pete Alonso doesn't do that hitting every day in Great American Ballpark, or Cody Bellinger doesn't hit 35, in Great American Ballpark. I'm rambling now, but I'm angry. I'm just angry because it feels like every year we hear, our payroll is going to be the same. We're looking at the same payroll, but it's been the same since basically 2013.
For sure. And I'm on the line of thinking Carrick has been kind of telling us over and over, like, how we can get like a Schwarber by like trading a Singer, trading a Key Brian Hayes, putting Sal Stu at third, to basically make room for a guy like Schwarber. And I don't fault them for falling short if that was the approach. And I don't know. I mean, they seem to be pretty honest. Why not tell us if that was the approach? But I don't think it was. I don't think they want to move off of Key Brian Hayes and Singer. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, what's the most infuriating part about missing out on Schwarber is the reasons that they told us. It was the ticket sales and the ability to budget. It's like, what are we talking about? Like that.
Yeah, like the fact, like, I'm not mad about Schwarber being the player we didn't sign. I'm mad at the fact that we were willing to find a way to spend that money on him and not anybody else.
Yeah, if it was the situation where they go, oh, we were trying to land Schwarber, we couldn't find a trade partner, da 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 da, or we couldn't find whatever, or you know what I mean? Like we were trying to move some pieces around to make it fit. That's not what they said. They basically said there was no pennies in the couch cushion. We couldn't find where the money was. Our phone team that basically went on an off day to try to get people to buy tickets didn't work. We only got two more.
Reds Community Fund 2.0.
Exactly. We couldn't find any more tickets, season ticket holders to fund the contract for Kyle Schwarber. That's basically what they have told us. And what is that? That is, I guess I'm coming around now to the whole I don't know. It's unconfirmed rumor that it's all Bob's money. Like they're all just running on the money that Bob has. And if that is true, we're in a lot more. Like we should reset our expectations if we are just trying to build this roster based on whatever Bob has available in his coffers, and it ain't much because he's trying to balance his budget. I get it. I got to balance my budget too to make sure that we got enough money at the end of the month. I guess so does Bob.
Yeah, 100% agree. I guess we could talk about the Rule 5 draft if you'd like. We can kind of talk a little bit more positively, I guess. We didn't really lose anybody notable other than right-handed pitcher Rodri Munoz. For those of you that don't know, we claimed him from the St. Louis Cardinals on, let's see, I have a text thread.
Yeah, he had a crazy era. The Rodri Munoz era was a wild ride for sure as a Red, almost as crazy as Ryan Velarde.
Yeah, except Velarde made the field.
Yeah, that's true. Not in a bat. He just played in the field.
Oh, man, where did this go? It wasn't that long ago. It's gonna drive me crazy. When was that? I texted Jeff Carr and James and Greg about it because it was funny.
And he was a left-handed pitcher, right? Like something that we actually needed in this organization,
or just young pitching in general.
Yeah,
but we have a deficiency of that.
At least in the left-handed.
Here we go. 34 days as a Cincinnati Red, Rodri Munoz. He was claimed, DFA'd, elected free agency, re-signed, and selected in the Rule 5 draft. And here is to him possibly getting returned.
Maybe.
It's a wild ride. Maybe,
yeah, that happened. We returned Cooper Bowman last year. He didn't work out. So, yeah, Rodri Munoz still could be a Red, even though he's I joked before the show, like, was he around long enough to be assigned a number in the Reds organization?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't know. They didn't roll out any red carpets and hang his jersey with Tito to be like, here's our new free agent signing or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess
we claimed him, right? We claimed him off waivers.
We claimed him off waivers for him because he was going to be removed from the Cardinals 40-man, and we claimed him. I guess this is where we can shout out Carrick for information because I had no idea how the Rule 5 draft worked for the minor league aspect of it. And I actually got to share from Carrick to Reds Daily how the minor league portion works. Basically, you get 38 players you can protect in the minor leagues, and then they have to be eligible too, right? And then because we lost Jack Rogers, he was a first baseman / outfielder, I think.
Yes.
For Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up claiming two people.
Lookouts.
Yeah, and we ended up claiming two players from the Brewers. Xavier
Warren.
Gosh. Yes, and then the
Nate Peterson.
That guy, Nate Peterson.
Yeah, he's got a funny looking face. The picture I found of him, at least.
Yeah.
But he's a left-handed guy that maybe is the Rodri Munoz, replacement or whatnot. But it was kind of weird because we did have a couple guys that were Rule 5 eligible, like Carlos Jorge, which I think the organization really likes, that got protected, we believe. I don't know if the list ever got published of the minor leaguers portion of the Rule 5 draft that got protected, but like you said, they could protect 38. I would imagine Carlos Jorge was top priority in that. But we only lost a couple guys that, Munoz might come back, right? Rogers, thank you for your service, but I don't know if we'll see him if they just keep him in their minor leagues. I think he got picked by the Astros. No,
yes, I think it was the Astros.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. It's kind of an interesting draft because the Reds also passed on the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft. They didn't pick anybody for the major league squad. And I think they had maybe one roster spot open on the 40-man, I believe. So they're keeping that spot open. So it's I guess not really big news. When we had our show on last Sunday, Ricky, I think we were kind of low-key hoping that this would be a kind of a quiet week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No big free agent signings, no big trades, no big deal with someone getting picked in Rule 5 draft. And it kind of went that way, aside from the Schwarber stuff.
Yeah.
It's just we'll see what this all kind of looks like when spring training invitees kind of go in to or come and see who's basically looking to trying to make that 40-man roster, trying to make our minor league depth a little bit better. But Carrick was saying that we only protected 33. But we didn't lose anybody we cared about. I don't know if that list was published anywhere, but we're glad that we didn't lose anybody that we're valued.
Austin Hendrick.
Exactly. No Austin Hendrick leaving. No Carlos Jorge. No. There's only 41 players that are eligible to be protected. So there's only 3 players that are unprotected. So unfortunately, Jack Rogers, you were unfortunately the one that was not protected of those 30 or 41 eligible, 33 that got protected. So, yeah. So we'll see how this ends up. Nate Peterson seems to be a decent enough left-handed pitcher to have some depth in our minors. So that should be interesting. I'm not exactly too familiar with Xavier Warren. I think he's kind of the same camp, like the 25-year-old range and first baseman. It was kind of a logjam there in our organization a little bit, at least especially at the major league level and whatnot.
I guess that he doesn't hit a lot of home runs and hits line drives.
That could be. Yeah, that could be. I don't know. But they're 2 former Brewers, so I guess we're making their depth a little less
Can't
strong.
beat them, take them.
Exactly. That's kind of like the whole philosophy, and sometimes NFL teams will just draft a bunch of guys from Alabama or Georgia. Like if they're a really, really good football team, yeah, they'll probably make your football team pretty good too.
That's kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles. They had like 2 straight years. They took nothing but Georgia Bulldogs defensive players and worked out for them.
Yeah, they're pretty good on the offensive defensive line.
Yeah, I guess I want to give a quick shout out too. We posted the Pablo Nunez clip on social medias where Carrick asked on his Facebook group about a top 30 or a prospect that's not in the top 30 that could climb the ranks. I picked Pablo Nunez, and towards the end of the clip, I shouted out the Blue Sox and their social media team.
Yeah.
Well, shout out them because they both ended up following our Instagram page, so that's pretty cool.
For sure.
I will stand by my take that they have arguably the best social media team in professional sports worldwide. To just if you don't follow them, like they're hilarious. They have like they use AI where it's funny, like it's not dumb. Like they had, I think I might have showed you one where it was AI. Their mascot got hit by a foul ball, and the mascot charged the batter and started fighting the batter, and then he got arrested. Like it was funny.
Oh man!
Shout out those guys because they're great. And then obviously, shout out anybody who shared that video because that video is our most popular video on our Instagram page at almost 5,000 views. And shout out Pablo Nunez for being just a great dude overall.
Yeah, for sure. And Carrick's Farm System Facebook page on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've been talking about the social media stuff that you pointed out. That's pretty fun stuff out there. They've been the real kind of, I guess, I wish there was a little bit more content for them because they only play like 4 games a week. They only play the round system of a series of 4 games. They don't have, a terribly every single day type, content that obviously Major League Baseball can do, that even, like the winter leagues and stuff like that for Dominican stuff like that can do. But yeah, they definitely, they maximize their content space window and whatnot because, I saw a bunch of posts of people in Carrick's Facebook page basically talking about their social media at Sydney Blue Sox. And, I don't know, maybe we got to reach out to their PR team so we can talk to their guys and whatnot.
Yeah. Their We Are Calamity is their social media team.
Oh, that's the name of the team? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like what is that, like a third party? It's not like actually a Blue Sox employee or something like that?
So it looks like they cover some other things, but
gotcha.
I think they probably have a team of people that work for the Blue Sox, a team of people that work for
They got
whatever.
They got many different avenues of content creation. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean they're funny. Whatever they do, like they're good at it. They're good at, like, not a lot of people can be like, yeah, you can have your content or whatever, but to put like the humor in there too, I like that stuff.
Yeah, baseball is, at least for me, can be a funny sport, and you sometimes gotta laugh before you cry, because otherwise this week will leave a lot
as Reds fans.
Yeah, this week especially might make you cry about whatever else is going on in this organization. One guy, though, that I hear does not make you cry because he has been spectacular in his first 3 years, right? Is his 3rd year? He's going into his 4th year?
Into his 4th year, yeah.
That's crazy. A guy that Ricky's really high on, a guy that we're going to talk about here for a little bit, Mr. All-Star Andrew Abbott, has been spectacular his first 3 years so far, and Ricky's got some stats to prove that.
Yeah, so if you remember going into this past season, before the injury stuff happened, where he was kind of like, who's going to be in the rotation? You had Green, obviously, number 1, Lodolo, number 2, Lauder, Martinez, and who am I missing? Singer, yes. And I kind of left Abbott out. Like, well, what are you going to do with Andrew Abbott? He struggles towards the end of the season, but I think last year, 2024, he actually did pretty well up until the end of the season. He's historically keeps a pretty low ERA, below 3.5 for the majority of the season until he gets tired. And I think a lot of fans were just kind of tired of it. And if you can move him and get a decent piece back for him, you could do that. But they ended up keeping him, obviously, and he started the season on the IL. I think he missed a month. For the first few starts, he ended up missing because we had Carson Spires in the rotation.
Yep.
And when I think it's funny enough, Abbott and Lodolo had the same amount of games played this year. I think Lodolo had 28 starts and 1 relief appearance, and Abbott had 29 starts. Anyway, going back to why I'm happy that we kept Andrew Abbott is he put together a career year in 2025 and added his name to a pretty solid list of pitchers through his first 75 starts of a career. I think it was Foolish Baseball who put out the stat. So shout out Foolish Baseball. If you don't follow them, his YouTube channel his name is Bailey. He's got a video on Joey Votto about the year Joey Votto hit 400, which he didn't, but he hit 400 post All-Star break, 2017, 2014, somewhere around there. Anyway, 3 left-handed pitchers ever, or the last 3 left-handed pitchers with an ERA plus of 130 or better in their first 3 seasons: Cole Hamels, Barry Zito, and Andy Pettitte. Andrew Abbott's ERA plus through 75 starts is 133. So you can add Andrew Abbott to that list of those 3 players with an ERA plus of 133. With that being said, ERA plus is basically the pitching equivalent of OPS plus, where 100 is league average. So Abbott, regardless of ballpark, is 33% better than the league average pitcher, which for 3 seasons of that, well, basically 2.5, because he came up in June or July of 2023. So that's a pretty good list. I mean, we could talk about that. Cole Hamels, Barry Zito, and Andy Pettitte. I mean, that's 3 Hall of Very Good at best. Like those are 3 solid pitchers. And I don't know about you, but Barry Zito has the best curveball I've ever seen.
Yeah, we were talking about the pre-show about Barry Zito and his kind of falling off, unfortunately, after he left Oakland. But also, it looks like Abbott's the 2026 Redheads captain, so he's definitely going to be there at Reds Fest because they have like a whole
bobblehead.
Yeah, they'll have like a whole thing for like the kids because the kids meet the Reds head captain and all that, and have like a whole get together and sign autographs and whatnot. So he'll definitely be there. Also, the other thing about Abbott, he's got his we keep talking about this. He's got his girlfriend that lives in Cincinnati. So like
he's a news reporter.
Extension, like let's keep him in Cincinnati because he can potentially want to settle down and whatnot. Same thing with Ellie as well, but we'll work on that later because unfortunately his agent's not necessarily the easiest to talk to. But yeah, for sure, Abbott has been great. He really broke through this season in terms of that narrative that you talked about, that he fades, that he doesn't have that strength down the stretch. He really pitched well down the stretch this year, helping them stay in that playoff race and ultimately getting there. Unfortunately, he has the unceremonious, situation where he's supposed to start game 3, and obviously we know how that happened, but it would have been really nice to have him get in there on game 2 one way or another because as we already lamented in this show, left-handed pitching is kind of a rarity, or at least quality left-handed pitching for this organization has been a rarity, and throwing Lodolo as a reliever in a playoff situation, why not Abbott as well? But that's the past. We can't do anything about that. 2026, this could be the year. We talk about how like Hunter Green is always on the precipice of, next year could be his Cy Young year. Why not Andrew Abbott? Why not break through again and really just like from the get-go, that he's got obviously the 3-year track record that shows he can be a Cole Hamels, a Zito, a Pettitte, who were, if they haven't won Cy Youngs, they were at least guys that got
in the conversation.
They got at least a bunch of Cy Young votes. So like that could be Andrew Abbott's story as well, and we would definitely welcome that in Cincinnati because we definitely, obviously as a small market team that can't get the Kyle Schwarbers, need our pitchers to be at the top of their game. And I think Andrew Abbott has shown that he could be at top of his game for, 5.5 months. Can we give him? I don't know if it was all 6 months.
So like, I have some stats on that. I think from what I understand, he was used primarily as a reliever in college at Virginia, and the Reds kind of transitioned him into a starter. So it's going to make sense to why 2023 he faded. He had a career high in innings pitched at any level. But in 2023, in August, he had an ERA of 6.08. And in September, it was 6.10. This season, he dropped August down to 4.45. In September was 3.95. So he got better in September.
That's great.
If he can, it's a tall task, but if he can pitch the way he pitched this year, find a way to improve on his stamina, which he did dramatically this season. Like I wrote about it in my piece on him on redstalk.com, but like he could become one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball statistically. Like he's not going to be Skubal just because of how he pitches, but as far as being an effective pitcher, he could become one of the best pitchers in baseball. He had an ERA under 3, like in Cincinnati. Like that's a tall task. We're kind of spoiled by that in recent years with Luis Castillo and Trevor Bauer in the 2020 year, and I think Johnny Cueto did it a few times, and it's been, we're used to seeing pitchers in the high threes, fours being like the standard around here, and I think this year, I think Ladola was under 3.5. I'll have to look it up to be sure, but we had multiple pitchers below 4, and that just hasn't happened many times.
Yeah, and Fangraphs, again, to shout out their incorrect predicting, said that the Reds pitching staff was going to take a step back because they had a really good year in 2024. If you remember that, it was almost just as good as this year because the offense, if you can believe this, Ricky, in 2024 was worse than 2025. They were just really just putrid, running the bases, hitting, home runs, yada, yada, all that stuff. Aside from, I guess 100% healthy Ellie De La Cruz and whatnot. But, it basically at 2026, probably Fangraphs will predict again that they'll take a step back again because pitching sometimes is just not sustainable. It's harder and harder to try to maintain that, especially, I believe, Abbott's not like a notorious ground ball pitcher. He's a fly ball pitcher in a ballpark where you get the wrong fly ball, it's out of there, right? So, like, for him to really kind of be strong down the stretch, and hopefully will even continue to improve going forward down the stretch into September, where the critical moments to obviously be your best to get into the playoffs or at least give your team a chance to be in the playoffs. And all credit to him. I really hope that he can build upon this season like a bunch of other guys that had pretty decent seasons, because 83 wins ain't gonna do it next year. I have a feeling the NL is going to be a bit stronger. I mean, the Dodgers underachieved based on their win total. What they won, like 94 games. I think the over/under was 104 in some sports books. So, like, by their standards, they lost too many games. So that means everyone else is just going to get better, right? Like the Mets are going to obviously try to get better. They only won 83 games, and they're not going to try to do that again. Also, like, the Cubs will be better. The
Marlins are on the up. The Braves are going to be way better than what they were last year.
They just got Suarez, right? The
Ranger Suarez, is that his name?
That's Christopher Sanchez, right? Yeah. He was a Philadelphia Philly, right? I
think it's Ranger Suarez.
Is it Ranger Suarez? Okay, so they got better. They got better.
They got Suarez, the closer.
Yeah. So they
got Iglesias back too.
Yeah. So the NL is not going to be. I think to get the 7th seed or 6th seed, wild card, the last wild card spot, that's probably going to be at least 86, 87 wins. That's my guess.
If not more, because, I mean, the Diamondbacks got hot after trading all the players that they kind of relied on. The Padres are going to fight the Giants for the division, or the Dodgers for the division. It's foreshadowing me predicting the Dodgers missed the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah, the Giants.
The Dodgers have a Chiefs year this year, and they missed the playoffs. But
it happens.
Who's to say they don't? But
dynasties die, man. So
let's just say the NL West is going to be everybody in contention but the Rockies, and then you have the NL Central. Who knows, man?
You're going out on a limb with that one, Rick.
The Rockies just don't figure it out and just hit 700 home runs.
Yeah, I heard they got a pitcher that they're signing and a fake news account.
MLB on fax.
yeah, check that out. Check that tweet out if you're online. But anyway.
Like, you could realistically go around the National League, right? You can say the NL East, the Phillies are going to be the Phillies. They seem like they're going to be the same team. They lost their closer, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the Mets, probably
better.
The same, if not better. And then you got the Braves, who I believe could be the dark horse to win the East.
Yeah.
And the Marlins, who spoiled the Mets season last year. And who's to say they don't put some things together? I kind of like some pieces that they have. And then you got the NL Central. Do the Brewers use their voodoo magic and somehow reel off 100 wins? Who's to say?
Yeah, who knows?
The Pirates, I mean, I know we joke about them a lot, but anytime you have a rotation with Skeens and I always draw a blank on their second starter. He's the lefty, But anytime you got those two leading a rotation, and then you got a power bat like O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds, and
They could definitely be spoilers. They could
they
take
could be a
take
team.
wins
But
away from the Reds that
I'll
would
say
help
it
them
now,
keep
like
in
the
contention.
Pirates seem to be aggressive this offseason, which is hilarious because you could use that aggression into putting in an extension to Paul Skeens, but
True.
either here nor there. But like the Pirates, and I'll say this kind of tongue in cheek, but I'll say it just to put it on the record. The Pirates in 2026, I think, could be a dark horse to be somewhat in contention for the final wild card spot. If the rest of the league struggles.
Yeah. I could see them making a Miami Marlins 79 win season.
I don't think they get to 500, but if they have obviously a better year than they had last year, and Skeens is Skeens, Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
O'Neal Cruz puts together a season. Brian Reynolds just stays being Brian Reynolds, and Henry Davis takes a leap. Their catcher takes a leap. Who knows? I mean, they got some talent coming in. Who's the Bubba Chandler? Is that his name? They got him. They got a couple other prospects that could be debuting this year. Who's to say they don't go on a Reds 2023 year? I don't want them to, but I mean, the Pirates aren't going to suck forever. I mean, we saw that when we finally made our run towards the division in 2010 through 2014. Who'd we lose to in the wild card round? We lost to the Pirates. So I'm just saying, I'm going to throw it out there. My hot take before the hot take segment is the Pirates make a run at a playoff spot. But I don't know, man. I just you look around the league, and it's going to take, like you said, more than 83 wins to get into a playoff spot. And I just don't see this Reds team constructed the way it's built right now winning 85 games. Unless Marte takes a leap, Ellie becomes who we think Ellie can be. Hunter Green pitches a full season and has Cy Young votes like he did in 2024. And Rhett Lauder's healthy, pitches a full season, and pitches the way he did to start his career. Chase Burns comes in and dominates. I mean, we'll have a full episode on projections and stuff later on in the offseason, but it takes a lot with the way this team's constructed right now to convince me they're going to win more than 80 games.
Very true. And yeah, the baseball adage is about, because there's like 15 teams in each, division, American League, National League. So you got like a 15-year cycle. So like if the Pirates are good in 2013, about 15 years from now is like 2028. So they're starting to get in there. Same cycle for the Reds, right? So that's why you can't take anything for granted at this stage in terms of missing out on players that you should have or could have had, making sure that you're getting, like you're not using like a guy like Ellie De La Cruz too much and risking injury constantly because he just wants to play every day. But I guess what the main thought I was thinking when you're talking about that is that this is a ball club that I think we can safely say the pitching staff is going to be pretty reliable. But what are we going to do about our offense? Right now at this moment, it's an 83 win team, right? And you're banking on what? Guys bouncing back, banking on guys not taking steps back, banking on like a guy who just started playing outfield and Noel V. Marte taking steps forward. There's a lot of hope there, as opposed to the safe thing in the hand is getting like a Kyle Schwarber, right? That what you're getting production-wise. They need to up their production. They can't just say, oh, well, Ellie had a partially torn quad that Dr. Krall said that actually was just a strain quad. So, whatever. But like we can't just – we have to refortify. There's a philosophy in like international soccer and European soccer is like there'll be a team that wins the league, right? Wins the league championship. And the thought process is that, okay, this team's good enough, we'll run it back with the same guys. No, the philosophy is you got to refortify that team. because there's going to be 19, 20 other teams coming for the crown as well. You have to keep adding to your roster. Same thing with this 83 win team and all the other teams that are out there, like the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't sitting pat. They're standing pat, or whatever the phrase is. They're adding to their roster because they want to keep pushing forward. You can't run it back with these same guys and expect the same result, because that's where 2024 happens, I think, where we have a bunch of guys that we're like, yeah, 2023 is great. We had 12-game winning streak in 2023. We're going to be even better. We're going to have a 24-game winning streak in 2024. And not really. Baseball don't work that way. So we definitely have to refortify this offense. And I don't think expecting CES and Reese Hines and Will Benson, as you mentioned earlier in the show, to be that reinforcement, because you didn't trust them in 2024, 2025 to do it. What makes you think they're going to be that much better in 2026 is my thinking. You got to add to this roster.
Yeah, so I have some savant numbers pulled up on CES, and I don't want to be down on a guy, but I had a lot of hope for CES. I think a lot of us did. You see the guy that could just put the ball in the upper deck at will. I mean, his first career home run was in the second deck. And so his average is 2023, and I'll go into 2025 after. His weighted on base was 346, and his expected slugging was 476. And then his average exit velocity was 90 miles per hour. He had a hard hit percentage of 48%, which if he had qualified would have been in the top, I think, probably 80-ish percentile. And then bat speed, 69 percentile, 73. But his chase percentage in 2023, this is what concerns me. His chase percentage in 23 was 36%, and his whiff percentage was 29%. Nice. And then you go to 2025, his chase percentage was at 46.6%, and his K was at 23.4. So he's chasing a lot, and he struck out in 23% of his at bats and only walked in 2%. In 2025. And historically, when he goes down a level or like in spring training, he mashes. He didn't mash in AAA to finish the year like Blake Dunn did. Blake Dunn over the last 3 months was hitting well over 330. I had some stats on Blake Dunn. One of my final minor league recaps. I think it was in June 1st. Yeah. He was batting like 199 in AAA. Mm-hmm. And then he got that from June 1st on through September. I think he finished the year at like 327. Like, what a jump. And I'll say this about Blake Dunn. If Blake Dunn can go out there and put the ball in play, he's got speed. I'll take that. And Jacob Hurtubise was known as a line drive slap hitter too, but looks like he's out of the league at the moment. And I don't know. Like, you look at last year, Jacob Hurtubise had, I think, nearly the same amount of at bats that Reese Hines did, and Reese Hines won MVP for the bats.
Yeah, and the Southern League or whatever they're called. Yeah, it's for sure. It'd be very, very, very making a lot more sense if McCall was the one diagnosing injuries down because of how many injuries we get per year. That's for sure, Fred. But
maybe that makes sense to why we get so many conflicting reports of what injuries are. Like the CES injury last year in 24, where it was he's hurt, he's fine, got an X-ray, he's clear, always having surgery.
Yeah,
that's just Crawl always talking and not always
making any sense.
Just making different decisions on what he wants to say.
Yeah. And I guess the thought I was thinking when you were talking about CES as well was like maybe it's too soon to write him off. I know we've kind of talked about that a little bit because he seems to have a plate approach that is not helping his chances to be a major leaguer, and we really need to we need something like that, a guy of that mold that will also take. I mean, it's basically Sal Stewart, right? In a sense, kind of like the way we've seen Sal Stewart and his plate approach. We need that kind of production, and maybe they're also depending on that. Is that Sal Stew is going to be the man, is the rookie of the year, and that I guess is kind of, I don't know. I guess I'd like to have a little more faith in this offense than just depending on a rookie that's only played a month of baseball. As Fred talks about, Blake Dunn season, and Tarek talk about, he does hit left hit. We do see him as the fourth outfielder, but we don't want him playing every day. Don't get us wrong. We do like Blake Dunn, and we definitely want him to be productive, but we'd like to have a lot more reinforcement than just, Blake Dunn and Sal Stew going off for rookie of the year.
Yeah, and I guess my last comment is we're giving CES all this leeway, right, with his whatever it may be, his lack of hitting ability. I guess I don't know how to say it bluntly.
It's just
discipline, yeah. But he is nearly a full year older than Rhys Hines, and Rhys Hines doesn't get a chance.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like, Rhys Hines is, if you look at who the player Rhys Hines can be compared to the player that CES can be, I think we realistically think that CES could be a 25 to 35 home run guy if he just goes out and does it, right? But Rhys Hines, he came up at third baseman. He plays in the outfield now. He's got a strong arm, but we saw him taking ground balls at first base, wanting to learn the position, right?
Yeah.
And the player that Rhys Hines can be is a 25 to 30 home run guy that can steal you 30 stolen bases too. Like, to me, I would rather take a chance on Rhys Hines, who, as a right-hander, hits right-handed pitching better than left-handed pitching. So he's kind of like your reverse platoon guy that if you can get him in there and you're not worried about him hitting right-handed pitching. So I just don't understand why we're giving all the chances to CES and we're not even giving one to Hines.
Yeah, but wasn't that the case that they weren't even giving him right-handed?
Yeah, it's like they just said, "Oh, he's right-handed. He's going to hit lefties."
That's what Fred's saying. So that's what I was like. I remember him it was just a weird Rhys Hines situation all around in 2025. And that's the thing is and we might even have a whole show on it, because I think someone at Mariposa or somebody in the comments talked about, like, we're highlighting a bunch of these minor leaguers, a bunch of these hot prospects, but there's a bunch of guys that will contribute in 2026, like a CES, like a Rhys Hines potentially, like a Will Benson, that are kind of in this bubble of like guys that don't necessarily have a guaranteed roster spot, but should really, like, this is like their prove it year. This is the year, boom or bust type of year, where they got to kind of show, I don't know, Velika and Terry Francona, like, they can be a Cincinnati Red, and CES is on that bubble. I get technically kind of like a Blake Dunn's kind of like on that bubble too, because he's not guaranteed a spot. It's a interesting kind of group of guys that we're not exactly sure. Tyler Callahan, as Terry, he's coming off that broken arm. He can be one of those guys that proves that he demands a roster spot and will be at the big league club going forward. That is a very interesting. We'll definitely do an episode on that, because there's a bunch of guys we could dive into the numbers in terms of what opportunities they got and what opportunities they should have. Because, we lament on Will Benson and Rhys Hines a lot about this show, but Blake Dunn and Tyler Callahan definitely deserve an opportunity as well.
Yeah, so here's my case for Rhys Hines, especially versus right-handed pitching. So versus lefties in 2024, he debuted 2024. His splits versus righties or versus lefties was 111 batting average, 200 on base, 278 slug for a 478 OPS. Versus right-handed pitching, 357 average, 419 on base, 1,000 slug, a 1419 OPS. You go to this past season. Granted, he didn't play in any games, hardly. Versus lefties, he didn't have a hit. Versus righties, 208, 240, 500, 740 OPS. Granted, he had like 60 at-bats. but he didn't have a hit versus a lefty in 2025. Like, he's just being put in bad situations. And is that a David Bell versus Valleca argument, or is that a hitting coach saying, hey, my guy hits righties way better than lefties, put him in these situations? I don't know.
It'd be nice to hear that internal conversation for sure. I don't know exactly how it goes down. It's definitely something they're going to be talking about in spring training, I would think, right? Like these type of conversations. And Carrick's hitting on my guy. Francisco Urbaez is possibly in that running as well, and he's back. He's back playing in the Winter Dominican League, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I don't know if you got any other thoughts on this kind of these bubble players, but I think we got another Dominican player that we can talk about that has brought up a little bit of headlines this week that we can touch on. Mr. Elly De La Cruz was reported earlier this week, I think right after the Schwarber news, kind of to maybe make fans
lessen the blow.
Yeah, like a little some spin, I guess, like they say in politics. Got a little bit, put a little polish on that turd that we got for news on the Schwarber stuff. But like it was reported that Elly was going to play for his home country, the Dominican Republic, in the World Baseball Classic coming up in nearly 3 months in March. It's going to be a huge deal because the Dominican team's always loaded.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he's really projected to be the starter. I think they got Perdomo of the D-backs as like the starting shortstop for Dominican is what I've been seeing.
Is Lindor going to play?
Lindor's Puerto Rican.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, so he'll start for the Puerto Rican team for sure.
You
think it's someone else?
I am thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, no, but I think he'll be the backup to Perdomo is what it looks like. But the reports are, and it was in quotations from the guy that I've been looking at for World Baseball Classic news, that the Reds did not give, quotes, permission to Elly De La Cruz to play. And there's also been a bunch of people reporting that actually, if the player is healthy, the team cannot reject the offer from the Dominican or whatever national team for him to be on the roster. So that becomes the issue of what is going on there in terms of, is Elly still kind of hurt and the Reds are restricting him from playing the World Baseball Classic because of that aforementioned quad injury? Or is it just the Reds being the Reds, having a horrible week on the PR front and just messing up what could be a really kind of cool thing for Elly to represent his country, possibly win a World Baseball Classic title? Because I know that the Dominican is usually really loaded, but I don't think they've won.
Oh, yeah. I have a potential from Reddit of the roster. I was thinking of Ketel Marte, not Lindor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is their projected starters. Tatis, Soto, Jose Ramirez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Manny Machado, Willie Adames, Ketel Marte, Teoscar Hernandez. And then your reserves are Marcelo Zuna, Elly De La Cruz, Julio Rodriguez, Rafael Devers, Gene Segura, Christopher Morel.
It's a pretty good team, I'd say.
It's a good team.
I'd take that. And I guess to put a button on the whole thing is that the Reds deleted the tweet.
Yes.
So I guess it's usually it's not the crime that really gets you in trouble. It's the cover up. It seems like the Reds are covering up that they didn't tell the stinking social media team that it wasn't cleared. And somehow the social media team, maybe they got it straight from the source of Elly that his team, his Dominican coaches want him to play. And they made a graphic and put it out there. And then all of a sudden it's gone. But what does that mean? Like, did the Reds just keep stepping on the rake? Like, what is this? Like, this seems like a weird situation to be in, because if I'm the Reds, I want our guys in the World Baseball Classic. It's going to be on Fox. It's going to, like if Elly comes up to bat, it'd be like the Cincinnati Reds star shortstop. It seemed like great promotion. As Dr. Krall, as Dr. Krall would put it, it'd probably sell us tickets to pay his salary.
Dr. Krall.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Dr. Evil.
Yeah, so what is this? What happened this week with this Elly situation?
Just piss poor communication, piss poor everything. Like, it just makes his organization look like a joke. Like, this once proud franchise is becoming the Cincinnati Bungles of the 1990s. Is this our Bungles phase? Like, is the 2020s going into 2030s going to be our Bungles phase where you go from potential playoff runs and dreaming of World Series to just hoping to get a player? Yeah, it's looking at the Bengals right now. You have a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow and a generational wide receiver in Jamar Chase, and Mike Brown just goes, "That's good enough. That'll bring in people are going to watch those guys play."
Yeah.
But in reality, they're just watching Joe Burrow get sacked more than Andrew Luck did his entire career, faster than Andrew Luck did.
And then
And you're
making Andrew
seeing,
Luck quotes, and then putting Andrew Luck quotes out there like, "I'm not having fun."
yeah, it's just it's not a good look. I don't think he's going to have the Andrew Luck. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's just going to play. But it's not fun. But like, is that going to happen to Ellie? Because we see how Ellie is. Like, he is a fun, energetic kid that plays the game like a little kid, which if you do that, you typically can be a very, very good major league player, right? But once you take the joy out of the game, like you can't really just give it back. Like, it's hard to get back, especially with the same team that you lost it from. Like, it's going to take a change of scenery. And I don't know, like, winning takes care of it, but does this team look like it's on any path to go, I'm excited, we're going to win games? Like 2025, we saw Ellie lose a sister, fly commercial, come back the same day. Like, the guy is giving you everything that he has, and you can't give the team that kind of effort back. It's just where I'm at.
Yeah, for a second I thought you were talking about both teams, Bengals and the Reds.
We can combine them. We can combine them.
They're almost eerily, as Fred says in his comment, like the same kind of, not necessarily the same track, because obviously I think football windows might be a little bit smaller than baseball windows, depending, obviously, but we can get in that. The thought that I was thinking was kind of like we were talking about with the Expos doc, is like, I think organizations, ownership groups may or may not value winning as much as fans do. And that's not a hot take, because we've come to see in many different organizations, whether it be the Bengals or the Reds, or, I mean, insert team here, that the bottom line money and the organizational profitability, sustainability, like I've talked about with the stinking Cubs, is top priority more than any of that other stuff that you talked about. And that could mean wasting a Hall of Famer's career, Votto, in a market that just can't seem to put anything around him. And here's the thing about Ellie, though. He's probably not getting that contract extension that Votto got, because A, it's going to be gigantic, and B, Boris is going to pull it all the way out till 2029. And there's just every single day, every single year, there's going to be a bigger free agent that gets more than Soto, more than Ohtani. And it's going to be just kind of like that thing when, NFL quarterbacks kept getting like $50 million a year after Mahomes. And now Tua Tagovailoa is a $50 million quarterback. And now everyone's like, what are we doing? It's kind of just the way the market goes. It's going to keep going up, up, up. It's never going to come back down. At least not in the current iteration or the current setup of the CBA and baseball. So what that means is that the window for Ellie is now, because he's cheap now. And so is McLean. He's cheap now. So is Hunter. He's cheap till 2029. So is Abbott. He's going to be cheap. So what are you doing? Do something. Obviously, I'm not, inventing the wheel on takes here in terms of telling the Reds that they need to make the most of this situation, because like Fred points out, the Bengals are doing the same thing down the street, and it's very frustrating to see that happen, basically back to backs, type of thing. Like it's just kind of weird to see it both happening kind of at the same time, and hang the banner of sold seats. Although I saw today because of the cold, it was really hard to get out to the game. So I don't know if they got sold out today because it was like 5 degrees at kickoff.
Yeah, and it's like another thing, like I guess to tie in a football perspective to it too, is you never know what can happen around the league while you're doing things to improve. Like look at the Chiefs this year. Patrick Mahomes just tore his ACL. Like they're out of the playoffs and he tore his ACL. And judging by the timing of it, like that could affect the start of next year for him, and I feel like when you see like Zach Taylor speak after games, it's kind of the same old, we believe in our guys. We're doing everything we can and we have the right team around us. It's like, at what point do you say, I got to do a better job? You don't ever hear that out of his mouth. You never hear, I got to do a better job. And it's to give Francona some credit. He has said that a lot this year. I think opening day he said it. I made a mistake. I don't think he said I would change it, but he learned quickly that Pagan was the closer from that point on. And like you look at next year, right? If you find a way to get better by adding somebody or multiple smaller end players that you can put together and say, these 3 guys are better than 4 guys we had last year. Who's to say the voodoo magic doesn't catch up to the Brewers and they go out and win 75 games next year? And the Cardinals aren't there yet. And the Cubs losing Kyle Tucker and PCA doesn't take this leap that they become the head honcho of the NL Central. Like this could be the year, like they could take the NL Central. Like it if things happen, it could happen. Like the Reds could go out and win 88 to 90 games, and it wouldn't be surprising if they make the right moves. But it just doesn't it doesn't seem like it's going to happen just because of the comments that we hear and everything else. And to get back on track with the Ellie, with the World Baseball Classic, it just, come on. Like, to delete the tweet after all of that, just say, sorry guys, we're not letting them play.
Yeah, and most pertinently to me is he going to play? Because I want to know, actually, because I'd like to see him play. Like, I know he probably, like I said, Perdomo's probably going to play ahead of him, but like he could start a couple games against.
I mean, we're Team USA over here, but we're Team USA, but we're interested in what the other team. We're Team Reds too. We want to see what our Reds guys are doing.
Yeah.
Like, how cool was it the last one when you had Ohtani versus Trout in the last at bat to decide the championship? Like, that is awesome. Could you imagine? It's not going to happen, but let's just say Hunter Green versus Ellie to end the World Baseball Classic. I mean, it would take Hunter Green playing too, but that would be a dream for like the Reds. Like, you have the 2 players that you are clamoring over, the 2 faces of your franchise in the final at bat. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'd like just to know, because you're right. This is a fan. I definitely want Team USA to go as far as they can. Obviously, Team Japan has gotten our number the last couple times.
Yeah,
this is unfortunate, but they're going to be strong too. Dominican Republic hasn't, like I said, won till since 2013 or something like that. So like they could be right up there competing
Team
with
USA versus the Dodgers.
Well, yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, but I guess I want to know if he's playing or not. Like that's
right.
Kind of
I'd like to know. Yeah, I'd like to buy a World Baseball Classic jersey.
Yeah, exactly. And we are always on this show hoping the Brewers are just gonna pop all their tires and have to just drag to the finish. Like Ricky said, 75 wins.
The Brewers are like the Ravens and the Steelers. Like, you always know they're not going to be great, but somehow they always finish above 500 and finish ahead of you in the division.
Yeah, just grinding it out somehow, one way or another, with guys you never heard of.
Pirates or the Browns.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird that two teams in both of our sports divisions, like the Browns are always a loser and the Pirates are always a loser, and you just got to make sure you keep them a loser and not let them be spoiler, because that's the one thing that I'm like, you had your take about the Pirates just a while ago. If they spoil the Reds season, you're talking about how the Reds could be division competitive, top of the division competitive, maybe win the division. Yeah. You got to beat the Pirates. You can't depend on a Noelve Marte miracle catch to avoid a sweep of the at home from the Pirates. You can't do that next year. Just for my sanity, please don't do that. I mean, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it this year was when the series we went to in April. That was the first time they had beaten the Pirates in a series in like 6 years.
I thought it was the first time they swept. I think
it might have been, but still, I mean, we saw how the season ended. Like we won the final game. Like we were on the cusp of being swept by the Pirates, and Marte goes out and saves the season for us.
Yeah, that's crazy. Any other thoughts you got on the LE debacle of the World Baseball Classic rollout? I don't think I have anything else. We can move on to our guys down under, move on to our guys in the Winter Dominican League and the Mexican League. It was a pretty good week for some guys down there. Actually, our guys in the Australian League had a okay week. They split their 5th round matchup 2-2. Their 9-game winning streak ended up coming to an end, unfortunately. Our guy, like by his standards, Pablo Nunez had like a pretty okay week. I think he got a hit in every single game of the round.
He's on a 7-game hitting streak.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, like it's almost like kind of old hat. He's got to show us a little bit more than that. Our guy Hansel Jimenez though had a pretty nice single stealing, or he robbed a single basically at shortstop, just leaping.
Hansel.
Yeah, man, he's gonna be good. I don't know exactly where we put all these guys in the ACL.
I'll tell you this, I don't say this lightly, and I know like he's not on like the top 30 yet officially,
right?
But I see a lot of Brandon Phillips and Hansel Jimenez. Like I see a lot of Phillips in him.
Yeah.
Now whether or not he sticks it short and goes to second like Phillips did, it remains to be seen. But he is extremely athletic. He's got some pop in his bat. I like this kid a lot. Yeah. He's gonna be something special, I think. And obviously we're really high on Pablo Nunez. I saw where Ichiro Kano had a walk-off hit the other day. He got the MVP of the game.
Yep.
And then Francisco Urbias got in the lineup today, right?
He played on Friday. They had like a rain out and a postponement maybe on Saturday. I think he might have played today as well. I didn't check today's box score. But no, he's back. He had like a back injury that kept him out for like a month. It's kind of crazy, to be honest with you, to see. Hopefully it's not too detrimental to his talent. And then also our guy Hector Rodriguez had a heck of a week. He won player of the game on Saturday. He had 2 triples. But the game before on Friday, he hit a home run. And then the game before that, he went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs. So, like, he's been killing it. I think possibly the confidence of being on the Reds 40-man roster and that kind of indication of, like, you're right on the cusp of potentially being, like, a call-up in the very soon near future. Maybe that's given a lot of confidence to do that. We'd love to see that. He's also been playing pretty well in the field. I think he's been playing though the corner outfield. He hasn't been playing center field as much as we kind of project him to be TJ Friedel's natural replacement. We might have to look for center field help before that, unless he develops.
Myers.
Yeah, that's on the docket still. I don't know if that's the sexy necessary replacement that we're looking for, but he might be the type of guy that fits the player profile that the Reds are looking at. So, but yeah, I don't know. And then, like you said, yeah, Ichiro Kano had a pretty. I like the way that they called it. Like like soccer terminology is that when you have a game-winning goal, it's the golden goal that wins the game. So like they called it down in Mexico the golden hit, the hit de oro. And I was like, yeah, I think golden hit sounds better than walk off. I know our American terminology, we like, the walk off win and whatnot, but like,
Yeah.
the golden hit sounds pretty good too.
Yeah, and I guess to shout out Hervin Murillo,
Yeah.
catcher, also down there down under. He's I didn't know this. He's a switch hitter. He is hitting very well. I unexpectedly, I guess I just been skipping him. I don't know. I've been sleeping on Murillo, I guess. But 327 average, 414 on base, 510 slug. It's a 924 OPS. He has a home run, a triple, and 4 doubles down there in with the Blue Sox.
Yep.
He could be a catcher to keep an eye on too. I mean, we're really high, obviously, on Alfredo Duno. Ryan McChrystal is kind of like that secondary catcher we're keeping our eye on to, be that next Trevino with Stevenson. So let's just say in 3 years we have Duno and McChrystal. But Hervin Murillo, I mean, he's looking like a legit catching prospect. And then, like, obviously we got some more down there in the DSL. Henry Torres we signed last year. Like Carrick asked, I think he asked this Sunday, but I don't think we ever really touched it. Or if we did, I don't think we did make a really in-depth conversation on it. He said, any DSL guys to skip the ACL? That's a good question.
I know that the historical answer to this is that Dano, right? Didn't Dano skip the ACL?
Yeah, he went straight to.
But I think he's asking, can any of the current DSL guys skip, or you see any of those potentially skipping ACL and doing that? Because I obviously I've been kind of talking about, like, we got so many talented potential guys that will start in the ACL. There might be like so much competition for places. It might be hard to get any potential runway to actually play. So I think Carrick's kind of talk about, like, are there any certain guys that may have the talent or capability to just skip ACL altogether and go down to Daytona?
So I'm going to name some names. I'm not saying that these guys will, but there's potential for them to. I think Jacet Martinez, I think he's in the ACL currently. I could see potentially, and I'm not saying this will happen, but Iker Radona could possibly skip. He is a little older.
Okay.
Actually, I might be thinking of somebody else. But Iker, he pitched. This was his first season with the DSL. 13 games, a 0.86 ERA, a 0.67 WHIP, 42 strikeouts, and single-digit walks. Three walks. A 164 batting average against. He had 18 hits allowed, 1 home run, 5 runs total, 3 earned in 31 of the third innings. He is, trying to do the math, December 5th, 2007. So that would put him at...
He's turning 18 in about 5 days.
He's 18.
3 days.
So
4 days.
He's 18. So he could be a candidate to skip just based on he's a lefty. Like, there's potential for him to skip. I doubt it though. But he had such a good year. It'd be worth a chance, I think, to get him up here in America with, get him in Arizona in March with Derek Johnson for a little bit. Like that's I'd be excited about that.
Yeah, that's right.
And then as far as like hitters go, I wouldn't be surprised, but he didn't have a great year. Libertz Aponte, he's in our top 15 prospects. Like I wouldn't, that wouldn't surprise me, but I also, it would make sense. Isaac Garcia, he didn't have the greatest year, but he's also 18. This would be his second year in the DSL if he comes up.
Yeah. This is the Carrick's putting out like this. I don't know. We joked about this earlier this year as well. Like, the ACL might be our favorite Reds part of the organization. Like it goes through the hits of Murillo, Yanuel Cassiano, Brandon Jamie, or Jaime, I'm not exactly there, Pablo Nunez, Adolfo Sanchez, Yekel Soriano, Juan Brown, Eli Pitts, Isaac Garcia, Yal Romero, Nairich Waterford, Steele Hall, Nabil Mariano, Angel Salillo, Hansel Jimenez. I mean, look at these guys. Like, obviously, this is where like the hardcores we're getting our we're getting excited just hearing all these names. But like this, like I think I'm fully behind Carrick's take that the ACL season needs to be longer, just to give these guys more baseball to play. Because I mean, it's not necessarily. I don't think they play like certain guys. I think they try to rotate certain guys is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they don't necessarily play like the best guys the whole time. They give them time, and they generally have like Sundays off. They don't play any games on Sundays, I believe, is their off day. So like it's kind of a weird league in general, but it's definitely where the development happens for a lot of this organization and other organizations.
No, I wouldn't be shocked because technically Adolfo Sanchez and Nunez and who else came up too? I think Hansel Jimenez. They technically didn't play official ACL games. They came up after the season. They played in like that bridge league or whatever.
Okay.
If they go out like the way Nunez is playing in Australia, and because you could probably equate that to like high A, double A talent over there in Australia. I mean, granted, they're a bunch of older players too, but you look at the way he's playing, I could see potential to where they could put Pablo in Daytona. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because he did play a second year in the DSL, so that kind of gives you that little bit of a buffer, I guess. But Adolfo Sanchez, if he has a really solid spring in Arizona, like he probably gets an invite to spring training as like a non-roster, whatever, minor league invite or whatever they call it. If he goes out and hits like 350 or whatever, hits a couple home runs, like I wouldn't be shocked if he goes out and he goes to Daytona also, and he's your right fielder or center fielder for the Tortugas. But I don't know. It's tough because you obviously want them to develop at their own rate. You don't want to rush anybody. But another case too, I think we talked about this on Sunday. Like we could see a world where Alfredo Duno skips A-ball and goes to Chattanooga. Like who's to say that? I mean, it's not likely. I don't really, I guess, want that to happen. I mean, yeah, we want to see him in Cincinnati as soon as possible. But who's to say you believe in him that much? You just go, hey, you skipped the ACL already. We're just gonna skip A-ball, and you're gonna play Double A, and then you're just 2 steps closer to Cincinnati, which he's got the potential to do that with his power. But yeah, I think if I had to pick 2 legitimate candidates that played in the DSL last year and didn't officially play in the ACL this year, I'm going to go with Sanchez and Nunez.
Yeah. And this type of situation where we're talking on and whatnot is like we wish we had some sort of insider and some sort of like ear to what the organization really sees in these guys, because we can make our judgments and we're on the outside and we obviously, I don't know, we kind of correctly predicted that Hector Rodriguez, Arroyo, and Leo Balcazar were going to get protected. So I guess we're not complete morons over here, but we don't know exactly what's going on in those conversations in the rooms they have with the development team for hitting the development team and the different levels and whatnot. And, maybe there's certain guys that they want to stay at certain levels so they can develop maybe as a person. Like they talked about, or Ryan McChrystal talked about that with Duno, that he kind of would lose his temper from time to time playing at Daytona. And maybe there's some sort of value into that because he is just going to turn 20. Alfredo Duno, that is going to just turn 20 in about 2 or 3 weeks time. So like just the maturity of handling baseball, man, like it's a high failure rate sport, right? Like 300 is a whole Hall of Famer, especially now in today's baseball, where a lot of
GOAT hitting 300 at this day and
Silver
age.
Slugger or whatever the award is for getting a best batting average. So like it's a tough sport. Just to say it just plainly, and maybe you're right. Maybe there could be an opportunity for Deneau to move up quickly. Maybe they don't want to potentially have too quickly of a move out, because we have just recent examples of like Marte maybe got moved up too quickly, and who was the other one? Carson Spires, or who was the guy that turned into reliever? He was just
Connor Phillips.
Yeah, Connor Phillips, maybe too. Like, and you never know. You never know until you know, right? Like, because he could catch fire if he does keep moving up the ranks quickly, and be like a Sal Stu, where Sal Stu moved through the system really quickly, but it seemed like he was ready because he came to the majors and looked like a Major League Baseball player, at least from my eyes. Whether or not he can do it for 162 is a different question, and we're going to see that, I guess, in 2026, which makes us kind of excited to see. But in terms of the ACL, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know who makes these decisions. Is this something that goes as high as president of baseball operations? Because if it is Nick Kroll, I'm not necessarily too excited to to be like, oh yeah, he's making the right decision here. But hopefully he's got other people telling him, hey, I see this. Hey, I see that. We should probably do this with this guy. Do this for that guy, type of thing. But like I said, it'd be great to be a fly on the wall to figure out exactly how they're run. But we've interviewed a couple players that say that the Reds definitely they prioritize the right things to play the right way. So I don't think it's a matter of that they're going about it the wrong way. It's just sometimes, what you see in a player, he might end up having a flaw that you didn't see, and it ends up hurting him at the next level.
Yeah, and I was trying to go back and find Pablo Nunez shared a picture earlier in the summer of a few players that were on the DSL that got promoted, and I can't remember who they were, but if I remember right, I feel like it was Adolfo Sanchez, him, Josset Martinez, Hansel Jimenez, and there was somebody else driving me crazy. But there was like 5 players. I don't know. I could see Adolfo. If I had to pick one player, I could see Adolfo Sanchez being that one guy that skips, just because they've invested in him a lot. Like, he was, at the time, the year he got signed, he was the 5th highest paid bonus that class. So, and he performed admirably this past season. He hit over 300.
Yeah.
So I could see a world where he's the one that skips.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. It would be, back-to-back draft or free agency periods of players to skip, because Duno skipped, and then the next year they signed Adolfo, and he skips the year after.
Yeah. That historically, hopefully, could probably prove out. And yeah, Carrick, hopefully, I do hopefully hope against hope that Kroll's not the one in charge of all these. I hope I have to look at the org chart, but they probably have like a player development president of player development or something like that. That's probably under Kroll, that hopefully gets to make those kind of personnel decisions, at least this far down, right? Like, I don't know exactly. We've talked about, like, it doesn't seem like Terry Francona is in charge of who gets called up from AAA per se, but like, someone has to make that call, right? I don't know exactly who that is exactly in the Reds organization, but I would imagine it's president of baseball org that is at least signing off on who's getting their contract purchased to the majors, at least for that level. Down the road, that's a good question. We have to look into that, and yeah, hopefully it's somebody that we can trust. For these guys that got a lot of talent, we like this class of 2027. I think I like to call it the Alfredo Duno class. We really like this class with Tyson Lewis and Neville and Keen Vu and all those guys at Daytona. They're going to move through the system. Really hoping that they can really improve this ball club down the road and have those reinforcements that we need. We need the reinforcements for 2026 to come from probably outside the club. But I think the class of 27 should be hopefully one of our stronger ones, like class of 2023.
Yeah, like if there's one thing we've been told as Reds fans is to be excited about the future. You know, we've always been told, you know, future, worry about the future. We're going to get there. We're going to win in the future.
Yeah.
Eventually that has to become the present, but looking at, I guess, the direction of, you know, not wanting power hitters, right? If you're going to have contact hitters, you want the good ones. And the way Pablo Nunez is projecting is as an elite contact hitter. And Adolfo Sanchez seems like a very, very good line drive hitter that can drive the ball out of the ballpark, left-hander. I look at Tyson Lewis, who hits the hell out of the ball. I look at as Duno as your kind of outlier in that, as he's your more of a launch angle hitter, but he does hit a lot of line drives. And I guess to get closer to the major league level, Hector Rodriguez is a really good line drive hitter. Cam Collier, if he can show us power again in 26, I mean, you look at his numbers last year in 24, what do you have, like 7 home runs in April?
Yeah. And
he cooled down a little bit, but he finished with like 20 for the year. If he's got gap to gap power, all fields, like if he could put it together, it could be an 850 OPS player that could hit 25 home runs. And you pair that with Sal Stewart, who is kind of like that player that we kind of look forward to being what Krall and company wants us to believe in.
Yeah.
There's just nobody on the major league roster that excites me as a contact hitter, because they've shown us for the past 3 years that when the situation asks for it, they can't get it done. And I just don't see where that improves, because you know, we look at regression from CES since he got called up, and I get it. He missed 24 with his surgery, and he missed the majority of the season. But Friedel's kind of like that outlier, I guess, where he hits a lot of line drives and gets on base, but he's bound to regress. I don't hope it's this year, but it's going to happen. He's just going to get older, and he's under team control for another, I think, 2 years. I think 2028, 29, around that time is when we have control of him. So who knows? But you go down to the younger ranks, there's a lot of talent down there, and everyone gets, oh, well, they're not on the Reds now. Yeah, but like, learn the names now, because you're going to get excited about them, because nobody knew who Ellie De La Cruz was in 2020,
right.
2021, but then in 2022, he just exploded onto the baseball world, and you know, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a name. Did you say Nabel Mariano? Was that the one that was on the list that you were looking for?
He is the player I was looking for. I couldn't think of his name.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Another name, Edward Arroyo, also has been playing regularly in the Roberto Clemente Puerto Rican League, and had a decent week, going 4 for 16 with a double, triple, and 2 RBIs. So it's good to see him getting back into baseball shape, hopefully being ready to go come March and spring training and whatnot. So it'll be nice to do that. And he's also on the best team in the Puerto Rican League. They won their 20th game. They're 20-10. So he'll probably even get to see some postseason winter ball action as well. So shout out to Edwin Arroyo on that. But any other thoughts or comments on our minors in the winter?
No, just look out on Cincinnati Reds Talk and our Substack for minor league coverage, and you'll find those articles in Carrick's Facebook group. Yeah,
it's been a really good resource, Carrick's Facebook group, because they really stay on it even more than myself. Because sometimes like I was telling you, I don't know, on the show or before the show, I feel like I missed news this week, or I missed things. I was just
it was a depressing week.
Yeah, it could have been the stages of grief from Schwarber. Although I think I admitted to you I was already in the acceptance phase by like Wednesday. Because I guess maybe I've seen this movie before in terms of missing out on a big name and kind of been like, yeah, that seems like the Reds. But the comments after, obviously, we've talked about that ad nauseum. But anyway, this is the part of the show I think that we're trying to get our hot takes off, Rick. I don't know if you got you got to get off your chest or whatnot. I think I've got one or two possibly that I've been thinking about. Schwarber aside, like those, I think we got those hot takes out of the way for that. So
yeah, I think if I had one hot take, and we don't really have to discuss it because we've talked about it so much, but my hot take is I think they actually do end up trading Hunter Green.
Yeah, I mean, it stinks. Just it stings and it stinks because he's so valued for the contract. Like it should bring in a haul.
Doesn't make sense.
In theory, should bring in a haul, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Not Ketel Marte.
Jarren Duran?
I still want more.
More than that.
I want prospects too.
Yeah.
If I'm getting, I don't know. Like what is Lodolo's projected arbitration?
I think he's got one more year pre-arb, and then 27 is when it starts, I believe, for him, unless I'm thinking of someone else. He's a guy that debuted in 22, so it should be actually this year, just like who else debuted in 22?
So he is projected at $5 million.
Yeah, this is his first year arbitration.
Yeah. So what is Green's salary this year?
8.3.
So you're looking at a guy who's established under contract that's not going to go up significantly, and you're looking at Lodolo, who has had more injury issues than Green, blisters, who's going to demand more eventually.
In the arb, this is just
so like you could, let's just say he goes to 5 this year, has a similar year to this year, but he doesn't miss as much time. He could be looking at 10 to 12 next year. And then the year after that, if he is equal, could be looking up upwards of like 15. Like I would, if I'm being realistic, I would look to move on from Lodolo over Green, but I think Green just gives you the better return, sadly.
Yeah, and that may be the reality that we're living in this post-Schwarber world. That Lodolo is not going to get you much, so you got to give up the guy that would. And I don't know, it'd be difficult because there's already been you got a fan. There's already been all the think pieces and all the reaction that this is the dumbest move that the Reds organization would ever make. But we're starting to learn that it's basically we're working on Bob's money, and we gotta save it where we can save it, because otherwise he's gonna run out eventually. And it doesn't sound like he wants to have anybody else kind of pony up for the money. So it's sad. I try not to end on a sad note, but
yeah. Well, I guess we want to end on a positive note. We can just say
I do have one take though that before we get that.
Let's go.
So the recent signing of Edwin Diaz,
yes,
what's his name's brother, former
Alexis.
Yeah, Alexis's brother, former Met. If you remember, do you remember what happened to Edwin Diaz when he was pitching for? I believe he's Dominican, right? In the World Baseball Classic,
Puerto Rico, I think.
Or it's Puerto Rican, or for his national team, right? But in 2023, remember what happened to him?
Hey, he tore his leg up, right?
For celebrating, not even pitching.
Yeah, he just like jumped.
Yeah. So a lot of people at that time, Edwin Diaz, big deal, playing for a big time team in the Mets, was like, World Baseball Classic, get rid of it. It is a bad thing. Don't send your players, right? Like, we got to argue in the CBA to have teams basically have control of their players and grant them permission, as opposed to, I think, the current setup, which is just allow them to play if they're healthy, right? If they're not healthy, obviously it's a different situation, as we know here in Cincinnati. But in 2026, or no, 2029, the next one, sorry, 2026, it's in March, right? It's right before the season, right? It's in spring training. It's It's like when guys are ramping up to play, right? And when you're playing in the World Baseball Classic, you're not going 50, 60, 70%, right? Not if you're playing for your colors. Now you're playing for your country. You're going to go 100% and play as hard as you can. And that could lead to injuries, right? Like that could lead to, I don't want it to be our guys, but anybody else that's out there, it can happen, right? Because you're not trying to go out there to lose the game. So my proposal, my take is the World Baseball Classic should happen after the World Series. It's obviously there's injury possibility as well for guys that have played. Not necessarily, not everyone plays 162, maybe some guys, but a small percentage play that amount of games and then also go on a World Series run. But that's a small percentage. So we're talking about maybe a lot of guys that probably don't even make the playoffs, have about a month, 6 weeks to prepare. Maybe you start in the middle of November. Most of these games happen like in the Dominican, in Puerto Rico, in Japan, which I'm not exactly what the weather's like there. So I guess
they got the Tokyo Dome.
Right. But they also, it happens in Miami. Miami in November is not bad, right? Like, put the World Baseball Classic as everyone's tuned in the World Series, like here, the World Baseball Classic, more baseball for you right now.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Like a week after.
Exactly. So that way you can keep that baseball high of whatever and whatnot. And the only thing I thought is like a detractor is that it's in football season. So maybe there's like, people are going to be like, I'd rather watch the Jaguars play the Titans than baseball. And I get that because that's what America is right now. They'd rather watch that. But that's only on Sundays. You got the rest of the week. Well, except Thursday, it's whatever. And Monday
night, Thursday night.
You got to have the World Baseball Classic be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
Yeah.
Saturday. At least the big games, right? You can put the Netherlands Antilles versus whatever, Germany,
Czech Republic.
Yeah, Czechia. It's Czechia now. They changed their name.
Oh, they did.
But anyway, the point being is like, put it when you got a situation where these guys are they're going in their winter league baseball, which is not the most demanding baseball, but you put the World Baseball Classic there at the end of there, you probably have less people complaining about, their guys are hurt and whatnot, going into their season, and a bunch of GMs kind of being, like on eggshells that please don't be my guy that gets hurt. Yeah. Just do it then. I think I don't know. To me, that makes the most sense because, spring training's kind of there for just getting ramped up. If you're, they would have to start getting like, their spring training or their camps in like February. So like they're extending their baseball season from February to end of September, October, as opposed to if you're already been off a month, maybe you can get some recovery a month, like there's not like a month between the end of the World Baseball Classic and it's about 20 days. 20 days from the end of the World Baseball. No, not even. No, the World Baseball Classic final is March 17th. I didn't work out this part, as you could tell.
Work in progress.
World Baseball Classic finals March 17th, and then the opening day is March 26th. That's less than 10 days. That's 9 days. That's not a big stretch if you need like rest and recovery, right? But if you do it in November, mid-November, if you're out of the playoffs, at the end of September, you got a month, maybe 6 weeks to get ready. So I don't know. That's just me. I think that the World Baseball Classic could be better also viewed than it would be than watching a baseball game March 6th.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I like that take. And I also I think there should be kind of like the NFL to where there's an off-season signing period dedicated to signing free agents to where you can kind of like the MLB off-season is so boring compared to the NFL. Because like you have so many different things to look forward to in the NFL that the NFL just is like king over.
Yeah.
And I think
you want to put the draft in like March, but then the baseball calendar is weird because of college.
Yeah, you can keep the draft at the All-Star break. It kind of gives like an All-Star feel where you have your future coming in to where the stars are, I guess.
Yeah.
But like I would like to see, let's just say the first month of the off season is like dedicated to filling out the 40 man and like your prospects and Rule 5 draft. And then second Monday of December through the day before Christmas or whatever it may be, is your 2-week free agency signing period to where all the big name players get selected in free agency during that time. That way you're not seeing players that are like top end players like who's the Jordan Montgomery a couple years ago where he didn't sign until March. Cody Bellinger didn't sign until February or March.
Blake Snell
didn't sign until basically the first week of the season. And you kind of you get rid of that, and I don't know. I would like to see there be more of that.
Yeah, for sure. There is a common thread with all three of those guys that you mentioned. It's a guy that should not be named as an agent. So we unfortunately have a guy that's under his agency, and that will be dragged out as well as long as possible. So just a heads up, the 2025 international signing period ends tomorrow. December was at 15th. So don't be surprised to see the Reds sign some guys potentially because they might have some pool money left. And then the next year's international free agent signing starts a month from then, January 15th. So look out for that. I think Angel Nunez has already kind of been on record to potentially be in that January signing.
Yeah.
The Reds, a top guy, a number 6 overall potential prospect for at least the international free agent signing rankings. So, yeah, if there's any breaking news on that, we'll let you know. We'll try to get that out to you. Maybe talk about it next show as well, if there's any big names or anything of note. But you were going to mention something before I cut you off in my World Baseball Classic take.
Oh, no. I like that. It should be towards the end of the season. Or another idea is you give players – this is a crazy idea. You start the season earlier, right? Let's just say you start spring training technically around the week after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And you start in February. You're in Arizona and Florida anyway. Like, it's going to be warm, so why not? And that way you could start the season in the second week of March instead of the last week of March. And then you have a 3-week period in July to where you could have the World Baseball Classic mid-season.
Like a NHL All-Star break for the Olympics.
Yeah. And for players that don't want to play, they get basically 2 weeks off to recover during an All-Star break. And then, yeah, I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't know about playing baseball games in the first week of March in Cincinnati or Cleveland or Chicago.
Snow.
Yeah, you're going to be covered in snow potentially in those. And I feel like there was a couple years ago, I think Cleveland had a home opener that they had to delay because it was too much snow on the field.
Colorado had one too, I believe.
Yeah,
so they're also in Colorado.
Yeah, so you'd have to you have to engineer the schedule to make sure it's all in Florida and domed situation. Minnesota can't play in Minnesota anymore. They got an open air stadium. I think Seattle's got a dome retractable, right? So they should be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That'd be interesting. That would definitely. You know what? We gotta send out our ideas with a contingency that if these do become actual ideas in baseball, we have to get paid or royalties or whatever, so that they don't take our ideas for free. Although we are putting it out here on this podcast, so they might just do that anyway. But another CBA talking point, maybe. A little NHL Olympic style break to play some World Baseball Classic. At the very least, like you were saying, Ricky, the NHL did not necessarily an Olympic break. They did the 4 nations thing. You can do USA, Japan, Dominican, and I don't know. I guess for equality, we should put like a European team or a South American team.
So we could do, I guess, if you wanted to be fair, you could probably do USA, Asia, Caribbean islands, Europe.
Oh, so you're combined Dominican and Puerto Rico?
Yeah. It sucks. Trust me. I know it's not fair. But to keep it simple, that way it'd be like less time spent on playing. That way make it a shorter event. Like you could do Europe and Australia.
World, or world where you can just amalgamate Europe, Australia, South America, because they're kind of the lesser baseball nations in my opinion.
Yeah. So I guess if you wanted to do a two team event, you could do like.
Well, I was thinking 4 nations, like they did in hockey, like just 4
Yeah.
nations, just 2v2, and then they play each other. Whoever wins gets in the final.
I like that too. So I guess you could do. I guess to make it more baseball, it would be Puerto Rico. Well, then you'd also have Cuba. There's a lot of Cuban players.
I like the regional idea, like US.
Okay, so do
Asia,
Caribbean,
yeah,
Caribbean, US,
Asia,
and Europe / Australia.
You can include, I guess, Australia in Asia. It's not terrible.
It's not too far.
So I don't know. I would just call it world or other. where you got
down under.
Because Venezuelans are pretty good at baseball. So like,
Pablo Nunez is from Venezuela. So is
right,
Alfredo Duno.
Yeah. So like, and our guy Suarez. So like, I think the Venezuelans would want to shout. Would want to get into the 4 nations. I think this is actually a better idea than the World Baseball Classic. They could do this.
We're on to something.
They do it in hockey. They do it in rugby. They do it kind of in soccer with kind of weird friendlies that they play. Like,
Manfred, if you're listening.
Yeah. So yeah, hey, 4 nations. Make sure you pay us money before you do this, please. But yeah, any other hot takes you got, Ricky, before we sign off?
No, I'm all taked out right now. It just make me sad. Yeah,
not necessarily the greatest week in Reds history, as I like to say, but I think we possibly have had some others that weren't so great. It just it stings a little bit more that he's, I guess, from Middletown and that we tried so hard.
This stings, but it's not like being told where you're gonna go on opening day.
Honestly, I guess that part of my Reds fandom, I kind of wrote it off because I thought the Castellines were a joke. Not that it changed my opinion in the last couple of years, but I think I actually might have wrote that off as just clown behavior on just a clown in a clown suit behavior. Basically, I don't know where we're going with this analogy, but it felt like it was just like, dude, I guess it's the Nick Kroll thing. Just stop talking, please.
Yeah, please just shut up.
Yeah, it would do us all a favor in our mental health if we don't have to hear from Phil or Nick Kroll going forward.
Yeah, I guess some other sport news before we sign off. We don't have to talk about it, but Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL and Micah Parsons tore his ACL.
Oh man, that hurts the Packers big time.
Yeah.
Did they win?
I believe so.
Dang, they're Super Bowl bound potentially, and Cheese wants to fire their head coach, and they're going to win the Super Bowl and fire their head coach.
Can we get Cheese to talk about the Bengals and how bad they need to fire their head coach?
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, Zach Taylor, is he from that? Sean McVay?
Yeah, he was the quarterback's coach.
Yeah, so that's probably why. I mean, Sean McVay, pretty good. Kyle Shanahan's pretty good, but I don't know about.
I'll tell you this. I would take LaFleur as a Bengals head coach over Zach Taylor.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not saying I got high stock in him, but
yeah, anything better than Zach Taylor at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about firing a guy who's on a team that's like leading the division,
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. That's okay. So like soccer,
4 quarterbacks in the last like 30 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. There's this thing in soccer though, like you can reach a level of success, and once you kind of get to this level of success, what you need to add to it is that you need to add like a style or a pizzazz. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just winning just for winning's sake, and it may be ugly, kind of like the Steelers, right? Just winning for winning's sake is not good enough. You have to add the winning, and also the product on the field has to look great. Otherwise, you turn into the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you're trying to fire one of the better coaches in the NFL. What's his name? Just because you're 7-6 and 9-8 every single year, or make the playoffs and don't win. It's like there's like a plateau of expectations that hit, and then you got to succeed that, which is hard. You can't win every year, as we know as Reds fans. It's difficult. People aren't giving you wins on purpose. I mean, I guess we can tinfoil hat it in maybe some situations, NBA tanking and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess one last Bengals talk and then we can get out of here.
Oh boy, hey, the Bengals podcast, baby.
This has become bad. Remember Zach Moss? He was their Colts running back, and then the Bengals signed him last year.
Yeah.
He, I guess, posted on Twitter today saying, been telling people easily the worst franchise in sports.
That's not new news. That's confirmation bias.
Right. I guess what happened is the Bengals didn't clear seats today.
Yes.
Of snow, and that's against NFL rules. And basically, it was this comedian, Michael Turner.
Oh, I like this stuff. He's good.
He said the Cincinnati Bengals not clearing the ice and snow off the seats for the fans coming to watch one of the coldest games ever in that stadium. It ended up being a game where we got within the 34-yard line 4 different times and still ended up in a shutout loss to the Baltimore Ravens. And a must-win game is the most Cincinnati Bengals shit ever. And Moss retweeted that and said, been telling people easily the worst franchise in sports. That's crazy. He was just cut from the team this year.
Yeah. Well, now if we want to devil's advocate on behalf of the lawyer on behalf of the Bengals, is that it might be just a jilted lover there.
And this person commented and said, speaking about the franchise that gave you the biggest contract of your career shows what kind of character you have. Look at yourself in the mirror, thief. Like, come on, man. Had he not had a neck injury, he was looking really good.
Yeah. I'm not trying to character assassinate Zach Moss. He's not wrong in many respects. And Michael Turner's not wrong either. And actually, you should get him on the show. He went on Drew Garrison's show with the Bengalorian and whatnot a while back, and I saw it. That's where I picked up on Michael Turner. He's funny. He does like man on the street stuff, you know.
Yeah, I just looked at him. He's great. I've seen his stuff pop up before.
We'll have to try to get him on the show maybe when opening day, because he did a man on the street opening day last year or this year for the Reds and whatnot. So, but yeah. And I don't know any more Bengals thoughts, because now it's getting sad again. You know,
we'll have to get James on to talk Bengals.
I don't know, man. I don't know how he does it. I like when they had Burrow go down like in week 2 or whatever it was, and then all the drama of like getting the old man Flacco, and then having the drama of losing 4 of his 5 starts. It's just it wasn't like 8 of the 9 starts that he made. I don't know. Anyway, the point being is not throwing stones, but it has been an unmitigated Bengals disaster of a season.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say it again. My last Bengals take for this show is I feel like they rushed Joe back to make sure fans kept showing up to the stadium. And
on the banner.
Which is sad, because Flacco was actually doing pretty admirably for a 40-year-old. And that Steelers win, he put up 30-something points. And I don't know, man. It's just, I get it. Joe's your franchise quarterback, Burrow, but come on.
Does Fred have to make a banner for the Bengals if Joe?
If he makes one, I'll give it to James.
If he plays all 17, or he no longer talks about how he wants to have fun. I feel like we're dumping on the Bengals.
Joe had fun today.
Yeah, I don't want to dump on the Bengals. It's just that where the expectations were to where they are now has been it would be almost as if you win 12 games in a row in 2023, and then all of a sudden you only win 77 games in 2024. Oh, wait, that did happen.
Wait a minute.
That sounds familiar.
And then the next year, we did make the playoffs the next year, though.
Yeah, man.
But we also changed coaches.
Yeah, this has got to be a step in the right direction, 2026, just to put it on a firm, positive-ish note.
Yeah. I guess that's how we'll end it.
I think everybody's left us. I think it's just us talking, Ricky.
Yeah.
So,
step in the right direction.
If you got nothing else, we will see you next time, Red fans, and Go Reds.
Yeah, CincinnatiRedsTalk.com, Substack Red Hot Reds, link trees in our bio, and go Reds.
Go Reds.